There's a precise moment that happens every day in a person's life that determines if they'll live beyond 85 or not. And it has absolutely nothing to do with your genetics. Let me ask you a question that might completely change your perspective on longevity. When was the last time you were truly silent? Not just quiet, real silence. No television, no conversations, no thoughts racing through your mind. If you struggle to remember, you've just identified the habit that's silently stealing years from your life. Dr. Alonso Puig spent 35 years studying what separates people who die at 75 from those who arrive vibrant at 95. The answer isn't in the genes, the diet, or the exercise, although those factors matter. The answer lies in something so fundamental that most of us don't even realize we're doing wrong. I'll explain this in a way you'll never forget. Imagine your brain as a never-sleeping city. Cars racing through the streets, people shouting, construction happening, sirens blaring. Now imagine this city running like this 24/7 for 70, 80 years. What would happen to the infrastructure, the buildings, the streets themselves? That's exactly what happens to your brain when you never allow yourself moments of true mental silence. And here's the revolutionary discovery. After 65, every minute without mental silence accelerates your cellular aging at a geometric rate. The habit that kills prematurely isn't smoking. It's not eating poorly. It's not being sedentary, although all of those are harmful. The habit that prevents people from surpassing 85 is the inability to create daily moments of absolute mental silence. Now you might be thinking, but I sleep every night. Doesn't that count as silence? And here's the first shock. Sleep is not mental silence. During sleep, your brain is incredibly active, processing memories, repairing tissues, eliminating toxins. It's a different kind of activity, but it's still intense activity. True mental silence is something completely different. It's a state where your brain enters deep regeneration mode, something that only happens when you're awake, but in complete mental rest. It's like the difference between turning off a computer and just putting it in sleep mode. Dr. Bush documented something fascinating in his studies. He followed 1,000 people for 20 years, divided into two groups. The first group practiced 15 minutes of absolute mental silence daily. The second group maintained their normal routines, always busy, always with some mental stimulation. The results were impactful. In the mental silence group, 89% surpassed 85 years with relatively good health. In the control group, only 34% reached that age, and many with compromised quality of life. But what really happens during these moments of mental silence? I'll use an analogy that will make this crystal clear. Think of your brain as a lake. Throughout the day, you throw stones into this lake. Every thought, every worry, every stimulus is a stone creating ripples. Over time, the surface of the lake becomes so agitated that you can no longer see the bottom. The sediment mixes with the water. Everything becomes murky. Mental silence is when you stop throwing stones. Gradually, the ripples cease. The water calms. The sediment settles to the bottom. The water becomes crystal clear again. It is in this moment of absolute clarity that deep regeneration processes occur. During true mental silence, your brain activates what neuroscientists call the default mode network. It's a constellation of brain areas that only functions fully when no specific tasks are being performed. And here's the crucial part. This network is responsible for repairing damage to neuronal DNA, eliminating misfolded proteins associated with Alzheimer's, regenerating worn-out synapses, rebalancing neurotransmitters, reducing chronic brain inflammation. After 65, these processes become exponentially more important. Why? Because the accumulation of cellular damage accelerates, and without moments of mental silence for repair, the decline becomes irreversible. Eleanor Vance, 78 years old, is a powerful example. A retired businesswoman, she lived what she called an active retirement, always busy with grandchildren, travel, courses, volunteering. She prided herself on not having time to think about old age. At 75, she began to show signs of cognitive decline, frequent forgetfulness, difficulty concentrating, irritability. Doctors suggested it was the beginning of dementia. That's when she learned about Dr. Puig's work. Skeptical but desperate, she began practicing 20 minutes of absolute mental silence daily. At first, it was torturous. Her mind resisted, created excuses, invented urgencies, but she persisted. After 6 months, the results were undeniable. Her memory improved dramatically. The mental fog dissipated. Exams showed an increase in the volume of the hippocampus, the crucial brain area for memory that typically shrinks with age. Today, at 82, she's more lucid than she was at 70. "Silence saved my mind," she says simply. But how exactly do you practice this mental silence? This is where most people make a mistake. It's not meditation in the traditional sense. It's not about emptying your mind. That's impossible and frustrating. It's about something much more subtle and powerful. Dr. Puig's protocol identifies 4 levels of mental silence, each with specific benefits for longevity. Level 1, sensory silence. You eliminate all external stimuli. No sounds, no images, no unnecessary touches. This allows your nervous system to come out of constant alert mode. It's like taking your foot off the accelerator of a car that's been racing for hours. This level alone reduces cortisol by 40% and lowers blood pressure by an average of 8 points. For people over 65, this means a significant reduction in the risk of stroke and heart attack. Level 2, passive mental silence. You allow thoughts to arise, but you don't engage with them. It's like watching clouds pass in the sky. You see, but you don't follow each one. This level activates the production of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, essential for creating new neurons even in old age. Studies show that 15 minutes a day at this level increases neurogenesis by 23% after 65. It's literally growing a younger brain. Level 3, active mental silence. Here you gently focus on an anchor. It could be your breath, your heartbeat, or a neutral word. When your mind wanders, you gently return to the anchor. This level maximizes the activity of telomerase, the enzyme that protects telomeres, the biological clocks of your cells. People who practice 20 minutes daily at this level show telomeres 30% longer than average for their age. In practical terms, their cells are biologically 10 to 15 years younger. Level 4, deep mental silence. This is the most advanced state where even the sense of self temporarily dissolves. It's not sleep, it's not a trance, it's pure awareness without content. A few minutes in this state activate longevity genes that remain dormant in most people. Dr. Puig has documented cases of individuals who, by regularly practicing this level, reversed biological markers of aging by up to 20 years. But there's a problem preventing 90% of people from establishing this life-saving habit. Our modern culture is addicted to constant stimulation. We're uncomfortable with silence. We're afraid of what we might find when the distractions cease. Mr. Anthony, 71, expresses this perfectly. In the first few days, it was unbearable. My mind screamed for something to do. I invented emergencies just to have an excuse to stop. That's when I realized I was afraid of myself. This fear of silence is, ironically, what kills us prematurely. It's like dying of thirst next to a fountain because we're afraid of the water. The protocol to overcome this resistance is gradual. Start with just 3 minutes a day. Yes, just 3 minutes. Choose a fixed time, preferably in the morning, when cortisol is naturally higher and the benefits are maximized. Week 1, 3 minutes of sensory silence. Simply sit comfortably in a quiet place. No goals, no expectations. Week 2, increase to 5 minutes. Begin to notice thoughts without engaging with them. Week 3, 7 minutes. Introduce a gentle anchor, perhaps counting breaths from 1 to 10 and starting again. Week 4, 10 minutes. Allow moments of deeper silence between thoughts. The goal is to reach 20 minutes daily by the 3rd month. At that point, the neurological changes are measurable and the habit is established. But here's Dr. Puig's most profound insight. Mental silence isn't just about living longer. It's about dying better. People who cultivate this habit develop what he calls expanded consciousness. They experience less fear of death, more acceptance of the aging process, and paradoxically, this makes them live longer and with higher quality of life. It's as if mental silence creates a bridge between life and death, making both less frightening and more natural. Perhaps that's why monks and contemplatives frequently live to advanced ages with enviable serenity. Dr. Puig's most revolutionary discovery came when he analyzed centenarians from 5 blue zones of the planet, regions where people routinely live beyond 100 years in good health. Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy, Nicoya in Costa Rica, Icaria in Greece, and Loma Linda in California. All these cultures, without exception, incorporate daily rituals of mental silence, although they call them by different names. In Okinawa, they practice moai, moments of shared quietude before meals. In Sardinia, there's the tradition of riposo mentale after lunch. In Nicoya, the elderly practice tiempo de paz at dawn. In Icaria, there's sigi, contemplative silence during sunset. And in Loma Linda, Adventists practice moments of sacred quietude several times a day. Dr. Puig spent 2 years living in these communities, measuring biomarkers of aging and documenting practices. What he discovered completely challenges our understanding of longevity. I'm going to share data that may shock you. In a laboratory, human neurons cultivated in an environment of constant stimulation die 70% faster than neurons that experience regular periods of chemical silence. When we extrapolate this to the entire human brain with its 86 billion neurons, the impact is devastating. A constantly stimulated brain ages approximately 2.3 times faster than a brain that experiences regular silence. In practical terms, this means that a 70-year-old who never practices mental silence has a brain biologically equivalent to someone 85, 90 years old. But the most fascinating thing is what happens at the molecular level during deep mental silence. Dr. Puig, in collaboration with the Spanish National Institute on Aging, used state-of-the-art functional magnetic resonance imaging technology to observe brains during states of mental silence. What they found was revolutionary. During deep mental silence, a phenomenon called neuronal regenerative cascade occurs. It's as if the brain activates a deep maintenance program that remains dormant during normal activity. Specifically, they observed the pineal gland increases melatonin production by 400% even during the day. But it's not just regular melatonin. It's a specific form called N-acetyl-5-methoxytryptamine, which has potent neuroprotective properties. This compound crosses the blood-brain barrier and literally washes neurons of accumulated free radicals. The hippocampus, crucial for memory, shows a 45% increase in the production of new cells during sustained mental silence. This contradicts the old belief that the adult brain does not generate new neurons. In fact, it does, but only under specific conditions, and mental silence is the most powerful of them. The mitochondria, the cellular powerhouses, go into super-efficiency mode. They produce 30% more ATP, cellular energy, while generating 50% fewer free radicals. It's as if your brain runs on premium fuel while producing less pollution. Let me tell you about the most impressive case documented by Dr. Puig. Sister Mary Dolores, a Carmelite nun, 93 years old, who has practiced 4 hours of daily mental silence for 70 years. Her brain scans show something extraordinary. The brain volume of a 50-year-old, synaptic density comparable to a 40-year-old, and 0 signs of amyloid plaques associated with Alzheimer's. When asked about her secret, she simply replied, "Silence is where God speaks, and apparently he speaks in the language of cellular regeneration." But here's the paradox that confuses many. The more you need mental silence, the harder it is to practice. Dr. Puig calls this the paradox of regenerative resistance. It's as if the worn-out brain creates even more noise to avoid the silence that could cure it. This resistance has an evolutionary basis. For millions of years, constant vigilance meant survival. An ancestor who went into mental silence while predators roamed wouldn't pass on their genes. So we develop brains addicted to activity, to constant monitoring of the environment. But here's the cruel irony. What saved us from saber-toothed tigers is now slowly killing us from the inside out. The alert system that ensured our survival as a species now ensures that many of us won't see our great-grandchildren grow up. Dr. Mario Alonso Puig identified 5 modern silence thieves that make this vital habit nearly impossible for most. First, the artificial importance syndrome. After retirement, many people fill every moment with activities to feel relevant. They create a schedule busier than when they were working. It's a defense mechanism against the fear of insignificance, but it extracts a huge price in longevity. Second, the terror of existential emptiness. Silence confronts us with fundamental questions. Who am I? What have I done with my life? What awaits me? To avoid these uncomfortable questions, we keep our minds constantly occupied. It's like leaving the TV on to avoid hearing our own thoughts. Third, senile digital addiction. Yes, people over 65 are becoming addicted to technology as much as teenagers. WhatsApp, Facebook, mobile games, these are the new drugs that prevent regenerative silence. Each notification releases dopamine, creating a vicious cycle of constant stimulation. Fourth, the compulsive caregiver complex. Many seniors define themselves by caring for others. Grandchildren, a sick spouse, the community. As noble as it may seem, when taken to extremes, it leaves no room for the essential self-care of mental silence. Fifth, the medical fear of silence. Ironically, many healthcare professionals recommend keeping the mind active to prevent dementia. But there's a crucial difference between constructive mental activity and destructive mental agitation. It's like the difference between exercising regularly and never stopping running until you collapse. To illustrate the transformative power of mental silence, let me share the case of Dr. Yamamoto, an 82-year-old Japanese cardiologist who participated in the study. He was the typical example of the hyperactive retired professional, consulting, lectures, research, family. He prided himself on sleeping only 5 hours a night and always being productive. At 78, he began to show signs of decline. Cardiac arrhythmias, resistant hypertension, memory problems. Ironically, the cardiologist was developing heart problems induced by chronic stress. Initially resistant, "I don't have time to sit still," he agreed to participate in the protocol as a scientific experiment. He started with 5 minutes a day, finding it an unbearable torture to do nothing. The diary he kept is revealing. Day 3. My mind is like a caged monkey. It doesn't stop for a second. Day 10. I noticed I've been breathing shallowly for decades. Day 21. For the first time in years, I slept 8 hours straight. Day 40. The arrhythmia decreased by 70%. Impossible, but it's in the exams. Day 90. I feel a mental clarity I haven't experienced since I was 40. After a year, his biomarkers were impressive. Normalized blood pressure, eliminated arrhythmias, inflammatory markers reduced by 60%, telomeres 20% longer. But the most remarkable was the brain scan, a 15% increase in the volume of the hippocampus and 30% more connections in the default mode network. I spent 50 years treating symptoms, he reflected. Silence treats the cause. Dr. Mario Alonso Puig developed what he calls the Silent Longevity Protocol, a 90-day program that gradually reconditions the brain to accept and then crave mental silence. It's based on neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself at any age. The protocol works in 3 phases. Phase 1, days 1 to 30, deconditioning. The goal is to break the addiction to constant stimulation. It begins with micro-silences, 30-second pauses spread throughout the day, gradually increasing to 5-minute sessions. In this phase, 70% of people experience what Dr. Puig calls mental withdrawal syndrome, anxiety, irritability, a feeling of wasted time. It's normal and temporary. Phase 2, days 31 to 60, reconditioning. The brain begins to associate silence with reward instead of threat. Sessions increase to 15 minutes. Many report the first glimpses of deep mental peace, a feeling they haven't experienced in decades. Biomarkers begin to improve measurably. Phase 3, days 61-90. Integration. Mental silence becomes a desired state, not a feared one. 20-30-minute sessions become natural. The brain now craves these moments as it craves sleep when tired. Cellular regeneration is in full swing, but Dr. Mario Alonso Puig made an even deeper discovery. Mental silence doesn't just benefit the practitioner. There's a measurable field effect. People who live with regular practitioners of mental silence show improvements in stress biomarkers, even without practicing themselves. It's as if mental silence creates a calm zone around the practitioner. Family members report more peaceful home environments, more meaningful conversations, deeper connections. Eleanor Vance, 76, illustrates this perfectly. When she started practicing mental silence to control her high blood pressure, her husband Arthur, 78, was skeptical and even irritated. She sits there doing nothing while the house needs attention, he complained. But something curious happened. After 2 months, Arthur noticed that he himself was calmer. He slept better. His own blood pressure, always problematic, began to normalize. It's like she brings peace to the house instead of stress, he admitted, surprised. Exams confirmed. Cortisol reduced by 25%, improved blood pressure, increased sleep quality. He didn't practice mental silence, but he benefited from her practice. Dr. Mario Alonso Puig theorizes that this occurs through positive emotional contagion and synchronization of biological rhythms between people who live together intimately. Perhaps the most touching aspect of the research is what Dr. Mario Alonso Puig calls the awakening of essential wisdom. People who regularly practice mental silence report accessing deep insights into their lives, relationships, and purpose. It's as if silence allows a deeper intelligence to emerge. Mr. Henry, 81, a retired executive who always prided himself on his analytical mind, describes, "In silence, I understood things that 60 years of active thinking didn't reveal to me. I clearly saw destructive patterns I'd maintained for decades. More importantly, I saw how to change them. It's humbling and liberating at the same time. Mental silence also seems to prepare people for what Dr. Mario Alonso Puig calls the conscious transition, the ability to face one's own mortality with serenity instead of terror. Regular practitioners report a progressive loss of the fear of death, replaced by curiosity or even peaceful expectation. It's as if silence is a rehearsal for the ultimate silence, reflects Sister Mary Dolores. You discover it's not frightening, it's coming home. This might be the deepest benefit of all. In a culture that obsessively denies and fears death, mental silence offers reconciliation. And paradoxically, as the fear of death diminishes, the life force increases. It's as if the body, no longer constricted by terror, can finally relax and fully regenerate. Dr. Puig is now expanding his research to include the impact of mental silence on specific age-related diseases. Preliminary results are promising. Parkinson's patients show a 30% reduction in tremors after 6 months of practice. Type 2 diabetics experience better glycemic control. Patients with arthritis report a significant decrease in inflammation and pain. But perhaps the most impactful statistic is this. In 10 years of follow-up, people who practice daily mental silence have a 73% lower chance of developing any type of dementia. In an era where Alzheimer's is called a silent epidemic, ironically, the solution may lie in silence itself. To conclude, let me share Dr. Puig's most profound reflection on his discovery. We spend our entire lives making noise, talking, thinking, producing, consuming. We've built entire civilizations based on sound and fury. But in the end, we discover that the secret to a long and healthy life was in the absolute opposite, in silence, in the pause, in the space between thoughts. It's humbling and wonderful at the same time. The fountain of youth isn't some magic potion or advanced technology. It's simply the courage to be still. The question that remains isn't whether you can afford the luxury of practicing mental silence. It's whether you can afford not to practice. Every day without silence is a day less of a full life. Every moment of mental agitation is a moment of lost regeneration. Your brain is waiting. Your cells are ready. Silence is available right now, at this precise moment. All you need to do is stop, breathe, and allow the miracle of regeneration to happen. The next 15 minutes could add 15 years to your life. The choice, as always, is entirely yours.